Hi everyone, I'm Dave. Welcome to my running channel. Today I just want to tell you a bit about myself and some of the things that I use to run that may be helpful for you as well. In my running channel I'll be covering some of the runs that I do and you can see in more detail some of the things that I'll be covering just in this quick introduction. Just to start off, I'm a casual runner. I've run a number of marathons, quite a number of half marathons and official runs of different distances from 10 through to marathon length. But generally speaking, I tend to run on my individual runs between 8 and 15 kilometers. But I aim more for a weekly running total of between 40 and 50 kilometers, and that gives you the flexibility to change your week around, change the distance of your runs, and also to really go with the flow of your body and with the flow of the weather. So you don't get too stressed that you're missing individual runs. You can actually kind of stretch them out over a week. I find that helps me a lot. My running pace is about between 5:15 and 5:20 minutes per kilometer, so not too fast, maybe not too slow. So you'll get to learn your own pace as you go through. I'm lucky enough to be in a job that takes me to cities around the world, so I try and run when I'm there. It's a great way to shake off your jet lag, also get to see the cities where you are or the places where you are. But of course with COVID, for the last few months and years, I've been running in my home city of Melbourne, and really be posting up a few of those runs on the channel as well. What I wanted to do is just start off with some of the clothes that I tend to run with, and that just help me to really kind of make my running much more relaxed and easier for myself. So one of the first things that I run with is with running tights. These are great to keep yourself warm if you need to. Certainly the long running tights, as you can see here, basically kind of like for winter, are really great because they keep you really warm. They also, in wet weather, will keep the mud and, in a sense, the water away from you. They act a little bit like a wetsuit, so you can keep nice and warm, in wet weather. But for me, the most important thing about wearing these, either winter or summer short ones, is they help with chafing. So if you're wearing these, they're made of synthetic material. They slip quite easily, particularly in those areas around your hips and your thighs. They can actually kind of like help with your chafe with those. Similarly, if you're running with shorts over your tights, with the tights you can actually just run with them. That's the advantage of them. I like to wear a pair of shorts over my tights as well. Very light synthetic material. Often have a pocket, which is really helpful for keys or a card if you want to take your public transport card with you. A drawstring, often important there, and they are synthetic. They have lots of mesh in them, so they air and dry really easily as well. Similarly, you have your running shirts. Now, quite important here is just to pick shirts that have a high degree of breathability and what they call wick. Take the moisture away from your skin and dry off really quickly. So you can see this shirt at the back has a kind of mesh effect on that. And some of these shirts, which you can pick up pretty much at any outlet store and so on, also have little pockets on the side where, again, you can keep simple little things like your keys and your transport card, or if you want a snack, you can put it in there too. some of the outerwear that's quite important as well is if you need to keep just a little bit warmer in some of the kind of cooler climates and so on, you can get really light running over jackets. These are great because they don't get too heavy, but they give you just that extra bit of warmth against the chill factor. And certainly if it does start to drizzle a bit, they'll help keep the water off your skin. You can get heavier ones. This is a warmer one. It actually is more like a running jersey, I'd say. And this is great for when it really is a bit chill. You're really running in quite cold weather. And so that will keep you warm. It's again a synthetic fabric that really will wick, take the damp and the sweat off your skin and try and keep you as dry as possible. Of course, if you're in a really, really rainy climate, you'll want to have something that really keeps the rain off. So you'll get like a rain jacket that's certainly kind of water repellent. This is great because it's highly visible as well. Certainly if you're running in dim weather or when it's raining and so on, you want people around you, particularly traffic and cyclists, to be able to see you when you're running. So doesn't have to be this bright, but I find that this is really helpful. It also has seamed zippers for the pockets and so on, so in wet weather you're going to keep nice and dry. And it has a high degree of breathability and netting and so on as well. So getting a really good wet weather running jacket is really great, particularly if you are in wet and cold climates. Really fantastic to be running in these. So you would have seen that most of the clothes that I use are synthetics. They're synthetic materials. I find that they're really useful because they are light and they wick really well. They take the moisture off your skin, so you don't get that abrasion perhaps from the salt from your sweat basically. And then also they dry really quickly. So if you're on a long run, actually you can reach the end of that run and you're still in pretty good shape if you're wearing synthetics. I don't have anything against organic materials or so on. I just find that if I run in cotton, for instance, that can get pretty heavy after a while, and I find that it chafes quite a lot as well. So synthetic fabrics are pretty good. They're very light and they keep you dry and so on, except for one thing. And I run in cotton socks because I find that the synthetics actually, that's one department where a good cotton sock really comes into its own. If you're in really cold environments, woolen socks can be used there, but I tend to run in cotton socks. They are very comfortable. They tend to have great cushioning underneath, and with these they're designed in a sense for the mesh, in terms of your comfort in your shoes and so on. So if I had to suggest anything that works really well for me, everything above basically your socks tends to be more synthetic material. Choose them well, and then I would say kind of really focus a bit on perhaps a great pair of natural fibre socks, either cotton or wool. Next up, I wanted to talk about your most important piece of clothing equipment. In fact, the most important piece of equipment that you're going to be using when you're running. And that is your shoes. So important here is that there are a lot of different models and types of shoes that are out there. I'm not going to promote a particular one or so on. What I would suggest is that you really do need to get to know what you need, basically. So if you are a short distance runner who likes to run really quick, and so you're in a sense going on short, fast runs. You want to be looking for a shoe that really, it lends itself to that. They'll tend to be lighter, less cushioning perhaps, enabling you to run really faster. If you like to run longer distances, you want a bit more stability perhaps or so on, then you'll be looking for a shoe that certainly kind of like offers you that as well. So knowing how you run is important as well. So then you need to know what your running gait and your stance is. What that means is every runner might run either in a neutral fashion, so your feet are neutrally placed whenever you run. They might be over pronate, so they might push in a little when you run, or they might push outward like that. So what you'd need to know is, are you a neutral runner, or does your kind of ankle or your feet roll in a particular way? Because the shoe that you get needs to counteract that. Because you'll find that if you're running with a shoe that doesn't give you the stability that you need, then you're going to be experiencing some difficulties with your muscles and your knees and your joints and so on. So I have an over pronate action, which means that I need some stability, what they call stability shoes. So I run in a stability shoe. It's heavier, gives more cushioning, and balances out my feet when I run. So just knowing what you need. You shouldn't be skimping on the shoes. These are the most important feature of your running. If you have problems with the shoes, those problems are going to lead to you being really not enjoying your running, or you're going to get injured. So take some time, make sure that you get good advice, maybe even go and have a bit of analysis done. You could do those in good shoe shops and so on, just to really make sure that initially you get the right type of shoe. And if that shoe works for you, then you know that it's that type of shoe. You can choose different models that meet that and so on, or you can follow the model that you started with. So mine are stability shoes. I tend to kind of like stick with them, a little bit heavier, but with a lot more support, and I run a fair amount of distance in them. So generally my shoes will last between 500 and 700 kilometers, depending on that. And when you're running, if you're looking to a situation where you think that your shoe needs replacing, what's really helpful with your shoe is to look below at the wearing of the sole, and you can actually see what's happening in terms of your running style with what's happening with your sole. This is a slightly older pair for me, and what I can see in my shoe is that there's a high wear pattern over here on this side, and so that's that pushing action that I do when I run. It's on the outside of the shoe here, so I know that that's something that happens to me when I run. And then there's an even degree of wear up through the middle of the shoe, which is really good. But if I didn't have a stability shoe, then certainly this wear would be an issue, and it would certainly lead to a high degree of discomfort or just unpleasant to run in. So I know that these shoes are certainly giving me the balance that I need. But the bottom of your shoe will tell you when it's time to replace, because this has reached down to the actual structure of the shoe, but it will also tell you stories about how you run. So pick your shoes carefully and pay attention to them. Third thing I want to talk about is about some of the equipment that is helpful to me, and that makes my running enjoyable and relaxing. You might find this helpful to you, but also just remember it's about you and where you run. So if you run in a cold weather climate or a hot weather climate, you might need to look for things that are specific to you. If you run short distances or if you run long distances, again, you'll probably find equipment that will help you as well. So I encourage you to look around and keep an eye open. Think about when you're on your runs, what is making you uncomfortable, what would help in terms of that. So one of the first things I'm going to be talking about for me is running gloves. I run often in climates where it's a bit chilly. I tend to feel the cold in my hands and so on. So these are just a standard pair of riding gloves, but they are synthetic, they're heavily meshed, and they're wonderful to keep your knuckles and your hands warm as you're running, and they tend to dry as you're running as well. So I really love these gloves. They really keep the cold off my hands and my fingers as well. Second thing that you might want to look for is a running belt. You get various types of these belts. Some of them come with water carriers, with them. If you're running really long distances, you might want to think about that as well if there's no water points along the way. But I tend to run in environments where I'll have access to water, and certainly I don't need it on the run. So I run with either this type of belt, which is a simple elasticized kind of like click belt, and it can certainly stretch and keep your valuables or your phone or keys or so on within there, or if you're carrying sachets of additional kind of like food and so on. But if you find that this actually kind of like digs into you or it's a little bit uncomfortable, there are these kind of running belts which are elasticized. They go around your waist and they have essentially kind of like a continuous pocket, and these are really helpful, particularly where you've got lots of let's say kind of sachets that you want to take on your run, and lots of bits and pieces on a long run. This is pretty much kind of like a set of pockets all around, and really comfortable and useful in terms of that. Whether you're in sunny, hot climates or even cold climates, a good cap is fantastic. You can get a running beanies if you're in really cold weather, but I find that just a good cap will keep you either warm or cool, depending on what the temperatures are. And also, if it rains, the visor will keep the rain from hitting your face. So really, really good accessory. Again, really comfortable, lots of mesh structure within them, and an easy to adjust band as well, because as you're running you may want to actually make adjustments to that band as well. Similarly, for both hot and even cold and wet weather, a good pair of glasses. They don't have to be really kind of dark in shade. You get lots of tints and so on, but glasses are great protective wear. They keep dust, perhaps even rain, out of your eyes, and certainly if there's any stones if you're running near traffic, etc. Really great protective equipment, and of course they will keep the glare away from your eyes as well, which is really great. Now, if you do a lot of running and you're running more distance, or perhaps starting to run to the office or home again, or to school and home again or so on, then a bag is going to be a really helpful addition to your equipment list. They come in various sizes. You can get really discreet ones if you're really wanting to just carry a few things on your run, and you get something that's a little bit bigger. I like to run to my office and back home again, So I've got a slightly bigger bag that allows me in the bag to carry electronic equipment like a tablet in there, but also some clothing items and perhaps a towel if you're showering and so on. Has a number of different compartments, so you can carry your phone and so on. You can have water bottles on the side, or be carrying any additional equipment that you want. So the important thing about these bags is to make sure that they've got the correct clips, particularly across the chest area. That's really important because that keeps the bag pretty stable. You don't want it digging around and swinging around while you're running, and they tend to also have straps around your hips. So that will ensure that you've got padding for around your hip areas as you're running as well. And they normally have simple clip mechanisms, so you should really have your strap across your chest but also around your hip area, and your bag should not be shifting too much. It should really be comfortable enough for you to run with it without really moving around as much. Now, in terms of electronics, I'm not going to suggest to you any particular electronics, but clearly a phone or a watch is a really great addition. There are apps that can assist you in terms of measuring everything from your heartbeat and through to the apps that assist you in tracking your runs, perhaps having your favorite playlist on it, and getting a good set of headphones or earphones will really make your running really enjoyable